Morning, Wellspring and Zoomland. Welcome to Wellspring. My name is Vicki Avery. I am a Board of Trustee member, and I'm very happy to be here and see all your smiling faces. I have a feeling this is going to be an exceptional gathering today. Girls do know how to have fun. Well, we, as always, have a few announcements to start off. Want to let you know that Early Birds is still meeting Sundays via Zoom at 9:30. And the link is on our weekly email and at our website. We have speakers that will be coming to share their wisdom with us. Today, we have our dear Dr. Edward. Next week on the 16th is Reverend Kamatara. Then Edward again on the 23rd. And then on the 30th, because it's a fifth Sunday, we're going to have a video, Reality Reconciles Science and Religion by Michael Dowd. Our board meets every second Wednesday of the month, so January 12th at 6:30 via Zoom. There are 3 board positions available. And please speak to Edward to get the Zoom connection. He's not going to be on. Another exciting event that's coming up in February is our annual meeting on Sunday, February 13th after the service. We'll have our financial report for how Wellspring is doing, do the year in review, and talk about future plans. And then we will have the election of board members. And again, there are 3 positions available. So if you are interested in serving on the board and helping with the direction of Wellspring, please see Edward or any board member. Lastly, I want to remind you all that our prayer group remains ready to serve and to support you. You may submit a request via our website, and the prayer team meets virtually on Tuesday afternoons at 4:15 to pray with you. You may consider at that time to sit in a quiet place, and we all know that prayer is powerful and that we all come together one in spirit, and the spirit of energy knows no limit. So now, if you would take a moment to just get comfortable in your seats, we'll invoke spirit. Mother, Father, God, Great Spirit, we give great thanks for this opportunity to come together as a spiritual community to support each other on each individual journey. We know that spirit is all there is, and that spirit is in, through, and around each of us. There's no separation. We are one. And we give great thanks for knowing that. And we say together, and so it is. And now, if you'd please stand if you're able, Edward's going to lead us in the Song of Joy.
Any mistakes or no? Okay. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. Joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean in my soul. Good enough. That was it, I think. Hey.
That was joyful. I guess I don't have to say it now. You can all be seated since you're all seated. You guys know this routine, right? Okay, if you'd please say with me together our vision, our mission, and our affirmation. Our mission, our vision is to elevate spiritual consciousness in our world. Our mission, to support individual spiritual quests through celebration, study, counsel, loving fellowship, and service. And our affirmation. I know that this new year of 2022 is divinely guided and blessed each and every day. I allow Spirit to work through me to foster more compassion, love, and understanding everywhere I go. And I am grateful for the Wellspring community that supports my spiritual well-being throughout the year. Now, it is with great pleasure that I am able to introduce our guest musician. Mother Teresa is back. She has the voice of an angel. She also has CDs that she will have for sale after the service.
Okay. I wasn't sure of what the topic was going to be today. So I just pulled out some older songs of mine that are about love, because I always figure that's, and this, strangely enough, is called River of Life. We just talked about the river. I wrote this for a friend of mine who was getting married in Italy. And it took me a lot of money to get to Italy for the wedding. So I didn't have money left over for a gift. So I wrote him this song instead. Why was I born? What am I to do? Where am I going next? Who the hell are you? Who knows what sweet thing it is that turns the world? Now all I see is the river of life, the river of life. All I see is the river of life, the river of life. I had a sweet romantic love, the kind I always wished I would. But we all know romantic love does no one any good. I prefer a love like ours, the kind that skins its knees. Now all I see is the river of life, the river of life. All I see is the river of life, the river of life. Oh, 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 wee, dee, dee. Oh, 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 oh. We We saw the Queen of Heaven once. She was dancing in the sky. She leaned down to whisper in our ears, no one ever dies. Because the love you brought to earth has set the whole world free. Now all I see is the river of life, the river of life. All I see is the river of life, the river of life. Oh, 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 all I see is the river of life, the river of life has brought you to me. Oh, no, no. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, we certainly are blessed that the river of life brought you to us. Thank you. You did it so beautifully. It's always interesting when it's time for the reading, because it always turns out to be just the perfect reading. So I hope that this is. I'm going to read today from our textbook, chapter 2, The Way It Works. There is a universal mind, spirit, intelligence that is the origin of everything. This is first cause. It is God. This universal life and energy finds an outlet in and through all that is energized and through everything that lives. There is one life back of everything that lives. There is one energy back of all that is energized. This energy is in everything. There is one spirit back of all expression. There is this spirit or this invisible cause and nothing out of which all things are to be made. Now, spirit plus nothing leaves spirit only. Hence, there is one original cause and nothing out of which we are made. In other words, we are made from this thing. That is why we are called the children of God. The original life is infinite. It is good. It is filled with peace. It is the essence of purity. It is the ultimate of intelligence. It is power. It is law. It is life. It is in us. This thing then works for us by working through us and is us always. It cannot work for us in any other way. It spreads itself over the whole universe and shouts at us from every angle. But it can become power to us only when we recognize it as power. Therefore, our belief sets the limit to our demonstration of the principle, which of itself is without limit. We are thinking, willing, knowing, conscious centers of life. We are surrounded by, immersed in, and therefore there is flowing through us a creative something. Call it what you will. The sum total of all our thought, will, purpose, and belief creates a tendency in this law that causes it to react to us according to the sum total of our belief. We experience good and evil because we perceive a presence of duality rather than unity. Then, knowing that the thing can work for us only through us, let us begin to accept today more good than we experienced yesterday, and to know that we shall reap a harvest of fulfilled desires. The time must come when we shall have left the apparent evil behind, when it shall be rolled up like a scroll and numbered with the things with which once were thought to be. Let us realize and work with this sound knowledge and perfect faith, that as high as we shall make our mark in mind and spirit, so high shall be its outward manifestation in our material world. And so it is. And now it is my distinct honor and privilege to introduce our beloved Edward to share his message with us.
Well, thank you, Vicki. We're still working our tech details out here. There we go. Okay. All right, so at the last minute, I added a subtitle to my talk. But the name of my talk was originally going to be Ready, Set, Go. And the subtitle is How to Supercharge Your New Year's Resolution. So, and you recall, those of you who were here, last Sunday, Peggy Shin spoke. She chooses a word every year or for the year, and her word for last year was surrender. And I'm guessing that maybe most of us have already performed this, what I'll call our annual ritual of deciding what we would like to see different in our life this next year, commonly called a New Year's resolution, right? We all got one? Sure. All right, fantastic. Other than that, are we just planning on kind of wandering around during the next year and just whatever comes up next, or however the wind blows us or what have you, that's the direction we're going to go? I think probably not. So I'm going to assume then that we all have something that might be considered or thought of as a New Year's resolution. And if you put any thought into this New Year's resolution, it's safe to assume that it's something that you would really want to achieve during this year. Right? We don't just make goals and then say, okay, we're not going to achieve that, but it was a good goal. And most of our resolutions, I think, have some portion of them that could be measured, be it losing weight or whatever. That's always, I think that's in like the top 1, 2, and 3 of New Year's resolutions is losing weight. So maybe, you know, you have a goal for the year. But we say in project management that unless you can measure it, it usually doesn't get done. So we need to have some way of measuring it. And just giving you some statistics about New Year's resolutions, it says on the average, 80% of New Year's resolutions fail by the second week in February. Ooh, yeah. But we also know that the good habits, especially ones that are drastically different from our current lifestyle, are hard to get started and even harder to keep. But they show that on the average, if you practice a new habit for 66 days, then the habit becomes what we call a habit or becomes automatic. Some other causes of failure, or another one is that we're not specific enough. You know, I want to lose weight. Well, that's a good goal. Yeah. No, I want to lose 5 pounds, 10 pounds, whatever it is. And the other one is, I want to lose weight, but I want to lose 412 pounds or something along those lines. And you look at that and you wrote it down, you did all the things you were supposed to do, and you look at that and say, how in the world am I going to lose all that weight this year? So that's called an unrealistic expectation. And for me, it's probably an impossibility. But it's helpful then to have some kind of markers. If you want to lose 12 pounds throughout the year, then maybe 1 pound a month or something like that. So we need to have these bite-sized goals or subsets of a goal so we can get there. Otherwise, we get discouraged. You know, at the end of January, we didn't lose the 25 pounds we said we wanted to. And so it's whatever. All right. And it's also, I think, safe to assume that this year's resolution will turn out exactly like last year's resolution, unless we do something different than what we did last year. Remember, I think is Einstein's definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Okay, same goes for your resolution. So what can we do to aid in putting some energy behind our resolutions? And if you recall, our topic, Wellspring's topic on the Christmas Eve service was hope. And, you know, hope may be a good starting place, but it's not going to get us there. Faith and activity have to do the heavy lifting. You know, hope is not a plan. It's not an approach. So let's talk about some of the principles that we believe in. And I think one of the most commonly expressed principle is change your thinking, change your life, right? So if we employ some of these principles, maybe we can beat the odds and actually have a success this year. And so change your thinking, change your life is easy to say, easy to remember, and just at the drop of a hat, we can say that. But what does it really mean and how does it work? Now, I'm going to give us a little help by reviewing some Ernest Holmes writings. If you recall, a few years ago, we did the basic ideas. We did that in, I think it was 8 weeks. And then Vicki read out of the Science of Mind book. So I'm going to employ some of the wisdom from Ernest Holmes as exemplified in each of these 2 books. And I think as you were reading, I don't think the quotes that I'm going to say were actually read. So that's good. I think you're a good warm-up act. Yeah. So at one of his, which is most closely related to this change your thinking, change your life, is my thought is in control of my experience and I can direct my thinking. Or put it another way, the ability to control my experiences and have them result in happiness, prosperity, and success lies in my own mind and my use of it. So why does this work? As Vicki was saying, there is one mental law in the universe, and where we use it, it becomes our law because we have individualized that greater law. And every time we use our mind, we're using all the creative power of the universal mind. Thought sets the mold, as we say, in the subjective, which then sets power into motion in accordance with the thought. We create the mental equivalent in mind and then let the mind fill in the details. Now, I think an interesting analogy, at least to me, was that of the beehive. And some of you have probably seen pictures of beehives that were in trees or whatever we want to call it, a bee nest. I think of a beehive as the thing that's in the box, right? And if you look inside of the one that's in the tree, you'll see that it's sort of irregular in shape. The bees get along well with it. It works for them. You look in the beehive that man provides for the bees or woman, and all of the cells are perfect hexagonal shapes, and they're just, you know, they're all the same length, and it's just very, maybe a little more orderly. Well, the point is that the beehive in the tree just started out with the side of the tree, whereas the beehive that we make for them, we actually start with a piece of wax that has imprinted on it little patterns in a hexagonal shape. And so the bees come in there and they start building on that. And sure enough, it becomes this very uniform, hexagonally shaped honeycomb. And that's the honeycomb that you usually see in the store. It looks so uniform. The one in the tree, usually it starts out big and then it's kind of this way and that way. And depending on what the interior of the tree did as to how close they have to leave a path for them to walk through. I guess they do walk inside the hive. At any rate, so there's this pattern that has been laid down to make or to improve the orderliness of the beehive, if you will. So that, you know, kind of flows through into how we want to do our stuff as well. But remember that all thought is creative, whether we realize it or not. And I'd say whether we intend it to be or not. You know, there are those thoughts that we have that we kind of wish we didn't have, but the more we think them, the more we are giving them energy and the more creative we are being along the lines of those thoughts. So there's this energy dynamo, if you want to do it, that's behind it all, always ready, always willing to respond to our command or respond to our thought. So there's this juice to produce. All right, so here's the catch, and this is probably where we find ourselves falling short. Recall the wise teacher, Jesus the Christ, said, "It is done to you according to your belief." So do we shoot for the stars, or we just kind of hope to climb to the top of the next hill? And as somebody said, whether you have a goal or not, you're going to get there, wherever that is, right? So what if we shoot for the stars, you know, but we don't even believe we can get there? So we're sort of sabotaging ourselves. And even if we only shoot for the next hill, if we don't think we can get there, we're going to have a problem. So this is kind of where we get back to the common thinking that if you create these unrealistic goals, it's a lot easier to give up on that goal because you just don't even believe you can get there. And in many respects, I think it's sort of human nature to think in terms of incremental changes rather than these outside of the box or, you know, going for the brass ring or any of those expressions that we use. Now, I'd like to relate this to something that I've seen in the corporate world. And I'll use an example kind of in the IT or the technology arena, and say that a certain position might pay $100,000 a year. So an applicant who meets all of the qualifications applies for the job. And this current applicant is one of these brain persons that can meet all those requirements, but they're really working in some other arena and they're making, or maybe they're working in IT or whatever, but they're only making $30,000 a year. Okay, so the job would offer 100,000, but they're only making 30,000. Now, these days, whenever you apply for a job, you have to give them your salary history. And why do you do that? Well, that makes the HR manager's job easier. He says, "Oh, okay, yeah, $30,000. We'll offer him $35,000. You know, this was a $100,000 job, but we're going to offer $35,000. Well, maybe we'll offer 40, you know, but I mean, that's I don't know, that's like 20% or more. We can't do that. And so even the hiring manager is going, you know, we can't do that. So that's the job offer to him. Whereas if some applicant comes in and they've been making $90,000, oh, no problem. We can offer them 100,000. They'll get a 10% raise and everything will be fine. Or the other hand is that our perfectly qualified applicant doesn't even apply for that job because they said, I'm only making 30,000. I couldn't, nobody'd pay me 100,000. Yeah. And that does happen, by the way. So I think this is as an example of how we think in terms of incremental improvements rather than what we also call as disruptive changes. You know, like a disruptive change in the last 60, 80 years was the transistor. Without that, you know, we'd never have a cell phone. We'd be carrying around battery packs and vacuum tubes and stuff like that. And so when that technology was invented, it made a huge change. And that's called a disruptive change. So why am I even talking about this? Well, sometimes we're our own worst enemy. And we put limitations on what we can do or what we can be. And these aren't always conscious limitations. Sometimes these limitations are something we bought into at a very early age. You know, maybe a teacher or a mother or father or somebody says, oh, you could never do that. Well, the you could never do that becomes an I can never do that. And we buy into it and we come into a philosophy like New Thought that says, yes, you can do that. And we go back here, I could never do that. So Holmes says, how much can one demonstrate? Just what one can believe. How much we can see, how much we can accept, how much we can find in our consciousness that is no longer repudiated by our own denials. And that's what we're talking about, is those built-in denials. Whatever that is, that much we can have. So how about this? How much peace can we conceive of? For ourselves, for the world? How much good can we experience? If we can conceive of only a little good, that is as much as we can experience. Can we accept that every person is inherently good? Can't we even accept that we are inherently good? Maybe that's even harder than accepting that others are inherently good, that we are inherently good. Think about that. What a difference in perspective that would make. What if you walked around just knowing that at the very depth of your being, that you are inherently good and that everybody you meet is inherently good? Or in the Christian tradition, we might say is a child of God. Every person we meet, including ourselves, is beloved. So in some religions, talking about things that we bring with us, there's this belief in original sin. You know, you were damned from the beginning, and only through the grace of God or a big contribution to the church could you be saved from hell. Now, if those were the beliefs of our starter religion, our starter church, whatever you want to call it, do we still at some level believe that we're unworthy? Do we believe that we have this original sin? Or do we accept that we deserve all the good we can imagine? Or do we accept that it's our birthright or our inheritance or our right to create? So when you shoot for the stars, do you know or feel that you're fully supported by the universe? We say that, but do you have it down in there? You know, that's that word I used to use, believe. Do you believe it and feel it? Well, you are, to the extent that you believe. So turn it around this way. If you were told that you could never fail, what would you attempt? If you were told you could do anything you can conceive of, would you believe it? And I guess it might depend on who told you that, right? Oh, yeah. The master teacher said, Vicki, Sharon, Judy, Brenda, Jim, you can do anything you believe. And maybe we would. I mean, after all, this is, a master teacher telling us this. Was there ever a time that the apostles kind of doubted Jesus? After all, he was just a guy from down the block. Anyway, the point being is you just have to accept it for yourself. So me, just some person up here, is telling you that you have a right to everything that you can conceive of. May or may not go very far. But if you take that inside, it can possibly go quite far. So back to the Science of Mind textbook. It is said that the thing can only work for us through us. Therefore, whatever limitations we place on it, that is as far as it can work. It's no different than trying to shine our light through a dirty window pane. More than you can possibly imagine is waiting to express in your life, but it can express only to the extent that we allow it. That's why we say, change your thinking, change your life. So for 2022, aside from your personal goals, have you given any thought to some larger or more global goals? Can you imagine a world where everyone works together for a win-win solution to every problem? Even for a split second, if you can feel that, if you can know that, that makes a huge difference to the universe, to the energy of the world. How about a world free of disease? Now, it's been said by a number of folks that disease starts in the mind. So again, change your thinking, change your life, or be the change you want to see. So by that, address the disease in your life, dis-ease, right? But it can also be the other diseases. First, address it in yourself. How about less fear and more faith? Or some folks might say less fear and more love, because many times we fear, but love can replace that. So more faith in our fellow man is a good start. Fellow human is a good start. So how about a more unified society or community? We've spent the last year, everywhere we turn, every news broadcast we listen to does nothing but sow division between loving fellow humans. So let's find the common good with one another. There are areas that we agree. Find that instead of looking for those areas that we disagree. So set this mental equivalent in your own life of agreement with others, and it will impact the broader universe. So again, can you one time, one moment, one instant during your day, see the world that way, rather than a place where hatred and anger and divisiveness reigns? So let's go back to this ready, set, go. And so it kind of fits 1, 2, 3. First one, first you must consistently believe in what you're seeking. You must believe in the infinite source that is waiting to support you. How clearly can you envision what you are seeking or affirming? And again, just for one moment today, can you believe it? Believe it is possible for you. And number 2, you must know that you have the right and the ability to declare it for yourself. Accept the creative action of mind in this particular way, that it can work or does work through you. And number 3, and they're off. Spirit, mind, the law does its part, and you do your part, knowing full well that you are fully supported. In our affirmative prayer, we talk about that's the release. We release it. We know that spirit or mind has got it. I think Reverend Kamatara says that God is on the job. You know, spirit is working. We have created the mold, the form, created the hexagonal shape in our beehive, and spirit fills in the rest. So with that, let us together make 2022 the best year yet. As we surrender, Peggy's word, as we surrender to the calling of spirit and let it work through us. Now, you recall that we had an affirmation for January. And it's on, the little sheet of paper that we hand out. Remember? This is, I suggest that you might be inclined to take this home with you and every day read that affirmation. And the affirmation goes as this: I know that this new year of 2022 is divinely guided and blessed each and every day. I allow spirit to work through me to foster more compassion, love, and understanding everywhere I go. I love this part. I am grateful for the Wellspring community that supports my spiritual well-being throughout the year. Amen, and so it is. Now it's time for our spiritual mind treatment. I got to make sure I don't grab Vicky's papers here. All right. So let's just take a moment and relax, sit in our chairs, feel the seat on our seat. As we always say, spirit is all there is. Spirit was there in the nothingness before there was nothingness. And out of this nothingness, spirit created everything. And as we are part of this creation, we are created out of that God stuff. We are beings that every atom in our body is made of God stuff. We are created, as we say. And we know that this power of creativity is part of our inheritance as well. We are creative beings as well. We create out of this impression, placing an impression in the subjective mind, and it is created. We also know that from this point of knowing, that we think about our friends and our family, those who are maybe struggling with health problems, any kinds of challenges, housing, relationships. So we just know, as we've known for ourselves, when we know for them, that they are these divine beings as well. They are beloved. This great oneness, this universe plus, knows everything they're going through, loves them without end, supports them without end. So we just see that maybe it's in the form of a light surrounding them. We just see them walking in that illumination. We also know that it is all good. Good is unfolding perfectly in this world, in this universe, in each and every one of us. And we give thanks for this understanding, this belief system that we've come to adopt. The system, this belief that gives us a peace of mind. We give thanks that this divine is operating through us, operating in us, operating in everybody we meet and everybody we know. And so, as I said before, we take this pattern of magnificence for every individual, this pattern of peace and harmony throughout the world, this pattern of community, this pattern of love, and we place it into the law, we place it into the mind, and we release it there. We just let it there, and we know that Spirit is taking care of things. Spirit wants the best and highest for each and every one of us and for this planet. Spirit is there. This, my beloved, that is my beloved. This is all my beloved. So we release it, we surrender it, and we know that it is all good. And so it is. Now we have Teresa again. Yes. Oh, thank you. Well, we enjoy your music as well. As I say, it's really a prayer in the form of music. It's kind of up high there.
There we go. It's funny because I was thinking what other song to do, and I was thinking about my New Year's resolutions, and also because of the division in the world, seemingly, I thought my New Year resolution was to be as loving and as compassionate and as kind as I could be to everybody, no matter what. You know how hard that is. So this is a song I wrote years ago. Please forgive me, I'm making mistakes because it's been a long time since I played it, but I thought this would be apropos of that. Sometimes you meet a stranger who's more like family than your own. A nod of the head, a little twinkle in his eye, and you know you're no longer all alone. At the bend in the road, here's a lovely sunset, the perfect end to the dream of day. I know we're not the ones in charge of the sunset. It must be love. Oh, I'm so sorry. Hold on. What about this looks easy to you? God dang. Okay. I had a little mind thing. It's been Thank you. I need it right now. At the end of the road, is a lovely sunset, the perfect end to the dream of day. I know we're not the ones in charge of the sunset. It must be love that made it that way. On the desert plain, the cactus flower is blooming. The nightingale song seems to say, if flowers can bloom out here on the blazing desert, it must be love that made it that way. Now when you see that stranger, don't be afraid to offer him your hand. You know, it's an old trick of angels to come down here to earth, all decked out like a man. At the bend in the road is a lovely sunset, the perfect end to the dream of day. I know we're not the ones in charge of the sunset. It must be love that made it that way. On the desert plain, the cactus flower is blooming. The nightingale song seems to say, if flowers can bloom out here on the blazing desert, it must be love that made it that way. If flowers can bloom out here on the blazing desert, it must be love that made it that way. Love that made it that way.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oop.
Thank you. And thank you. And thank you for leaving my papers up here so I know what I'm supposed to do next. Thank you, Cleona. We acknowledge and receive our virtual and in-person gifts. We give great thanks for the offerings already given and for those that we will be receiving, because we know that giving and receiving is both part of the one flow. We affirm that we are also part of that flow. We bless these gifts and know that they are multiplied throughout our community. And many of us know that the gifts are an energy. It's not a noun, it's a verb. So it's that flow. There's a number of folks that have been involved in putting on this wonderful gathering today. So thank you. We're grateful for your service. Lastly, if you'd like to stay around in Zoom and chat after the meeting, please do so. And then also we can go next door to the fellowship and partake of yum yums. And also we have some CDs that will be available. Thank you, Teresa. Okay, if you would please stand and read with me the benediction followed by our congregational song. Spirit in the midst of us is mighty. Joy, peace, and eternal life are our true nature and flow through us into the world. And so it is. Now for the peace song.